Long time no see! I figured doing something in a slightly different format could be fun, so here we are. Today, I will try to imitate how my characters would have drawn themselves if they, were given a chance to. I consider this a challenge in a way because trying to purposefully draw words is actually kinda hard, and since I can't judge the drawings here based on how well they are made, I'm gonna have other metrics. A successful drawing should be suitable for certain characters' artistic abilities, and yet it should still be possible to recognize who is depicted in a certain picture. The first character who is drawing today is Yegor. His drawing is honestly a meme at this point. The thing is, I quickly figured Yegor will not be able to draw himself and this whole thing will surely end up a disaster when I suddenly thought of something. I figured that even when a person doesn't know how to draw stuff, there is still a chance they might know how to draw one or two specific things they are familiar with. In Yegor's case, I wouldn't put it past him to know how to draw a pear, since they are a part of his daily routine, and to make this even more ridiculous, it's not just a nice drawn pear, but a realistically looking pear that he must have spent an ungodly amount of time for. What I like about this little challenge/experiment is that I have an excuse to use the brushes I haven't tried much, if at all, before, and see what I can do with them. In this case, for example, since I figured Yegor would be using colored pencils, I made sure to use textured brushes. And also, I tried my best to not use digital features, resorting to them only when absolutely necessary. Mostly because, technically speaking, my characters would be drawing all of this on an actual paper. The last point is also the reason why I started adding paper texture to the drawings. It made even the simplest of pieces look better and more alive, as they were supposed to be. In terms of references, I needed only one reference really, that being a good photo of a pear. This drawing is not exactly Yegor's portrait, but weirdly enough, you can recognize who this piece is supposed to belong to. Ella, in contrast to Yegor, seems to be the type of girl who would know how to draw, at the very least a little bit. I can imagine her sketching little cartoon characters in her copybook when she was bored back at school, and even drawing some character art to cheer her friends up in their moments of need. Ella likes cute fluffy things, so I figured she would most likely choose a cute cartoonish style with some pastel colors to represent her. I guess the way her eyes look, those little hearts and stars, plus the blush on her cheeks, all kinda remind me of anime, but then again it depends on what anime we're talking about. No one in Death Note looked this way. I did need more references for Ella's piece to see how I could draw her eyes, her face, and what the general vibe should look like. Because it's one thing to roughly imagine what something looks like, and it's a completely different thing to see it and translate it on paper. The materials she would use are markers, so the lines turn out clean, and the little shading we have here is very defined and bright. In the end, Ella looks pretty recognizable and very cute. I'm kinda happy with this drawing. Tim is the only character whose drawing had to be changed completely after it had already been drawn. The initial version turned out to be too advanced for someone who has only sketched out mechanisms and not people. Tim's lines are straight, there are a lot of angles. His style reminds of invention schemes he's well versed in. The only color is dark blue. I was thinking of going with black, but then figured it would be pretty believable for Tim to just pick up a pen, and it most likely could be blue since this seems to be the most common pen color, and use it for the whole drawing. Although, as you can notice, in the final version he's actually holding a dark blue marker instead, and that can also be explained with more or less the same level of knowledge. He hadn't chosen his own materials, but rather took what Ella used for her drawing and stuck to it. Worked for her, will probably work for me type of mentality. In the end, even though the drawing is very simple, it is still kind of possible to see Tim in it, so I think that's a win overall. Zara is the first who picked up watercolor and decided to try painting with it. Truth be told, watercolor is a hard material to work with. You can definitely use it and create pictures with it, kids do that all the time after all, but it doesn't mean it necessarily looks good. True watercolor is very gentle. One wrong splash and the picture is likely ruined. I don't think Zara would know how to use watercolor to their fullest potential, but she would be able to capture the most important details so it would look close enough to the real her. She would draw a couple lines around her face to define it better and create little white dots in her eyes, so they don't look as dark, but other than that, she would unlikely spend much more time on this. Neon is the last person to draw themselves today, and I would say this whole idea was the most beneficial to him specifically, for the simple reason that I came up with a new little unique thing for him. Basically, unlike other characters who drew themselves on the table with various more or less widespread materials like markers, colored pencils, and watercolors, Neon would resort to spray paint on a wall instead. It seemed like the natural thing for him to do, being someone who spent a lot of his time, especially in his teenage years, skateboarding and then liveaboarding around. Another curious thing about Neon's graffiti is that it's not even a portrait, but rather just his name written down. Granted, it's really pretty in my opinion. I've never painted graffiti before, neither on the real walls nor as digital concepts, but it was truly fun to figure out what was the best way to approach it. I even opened a couple of videos where people actually explain how they do things, what font they use, and so on and so forth, because my handwriting is not that good, but having a couple of references really did help me see how people do it, what the letters could look like, and so on and so forth. So I think it was really fun, and now I kind of want to draw more things in the same style. It's pretty good. And that about settles it. I really like the format and I will hopefully return to it sometime in the future. The only downside I see is that it takes quite some time to complete all of the drawing animations for each character. But now, when I have the backgrounds ready and everything worked out, next time I might be able to make a similar video much faster. Write down in the comments what you think, subscribe to not miss my future videos, and have a good day! See ya!